Alright guys, this is going to be a video on how I beat Mount & Blade Bannerlord 2. This is actually the first time that I've beaten the game, and you can see here I did it on day 2762. My character level was 38, I had 13 million dinars, 32k influence. My party size is actually, the max is 425, but I just took a city, so you can see here it's down to about 250. Picked a battalion for myself, and I ended up joining the Kuzite over here. The last place that I conquered was Azurai down here in the south. Azurai is very spread out and it's a huge pain to take over. I would probably recommend you do that last, especially compared to the north. This was probably the first place that we really conquered. Every kingdom that we defeated came down south and took a city down here, which was kind of funny. Let's head back and I'll show you character selection page. If you're actually going to finish this game, I think you could probably do it in 2,500, maybe even 2,000 days. A lot of the advice people give for the culture pretty much assume that you're not even going to play up to day 500. Myself included, I never really made a play that deep in the game, and then I kind of just got fed up and said, alright, I'm beating this game. One of the things you'll see is that really the culture doesn't impact you that much. What I would recommend doing is either going Battanian, so you can start doing your smithing build, or Empire. And the reason I really like Empire is because when you take a fief, -3 loyalty for not being of the same culture. Most of the map is actually Empire, so you'll be able to keep your loyalty a lot higher. So you'll look in here, Jalmyrus, right? This is going to be an Empire fief. If we come here, look at security, bailiffs, magistrates, serfdom, those all come from kingdom policies. Those are really important. And then you have something here called security drift. We'll get to that in a moment. Loyalty. You see here, -3 owner culture. That is because I'm Battanian, and this is an empire fief. This basically makes it really hard for me to build up loyalty. So you can see here, festivals and games. I'm clearly pumping festival and games instead of village hearths, which creates food production, blah, 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 blah. Lets you build a better garrison. Your garrison is what eats your food stock. So as you come in here and look, you're going to see prosperity is the biggest drain on food stocks, but that changes very slowly. The things that changes the most is garrison. The reason garrison impacts it so much is once you get to a high enough loyalty with the nobles and the fief, they're going to start donating one notable to your garrison. And basically that means you're going to get one recruit per day added to your garrison. Now they're going to start out as a tier 1 recruit, and so it's going to take some time for them to get the experience to build up. But once they're an experienced troop, you'll be able to grab them, pull them into your army, and go from there. There's something called loyalty drift, and down here you can see security drift. And basically when you're at 100, it's going to be about -3.5. That's going to go down as you get closer to 50. Once you're below 50, your security drift will flip and become positive, and it'll push you up closer to 50. Same thing is true for loyalty. When your loyalty and your security are too low, you're going to get a rebellion. Rebellions are really bad because they make you have to backtrack, conquer that place again, and if you are holding too many fiefs at that moment in time, you could actually end up losing that fief. Let me change my banner. For some reason, this never sticks when I save. This game is full of quite a bit of bugs still. Once I became the kingdom ruler, I consolidated my fiefs into what I would consider the key places to hold. Rote, Amitatis, Jalmyrus. These are so important because they're basically in the center of the map. It's not going to take that much time to leave the front lines and get back here and pick up troops. Once you get your relation up with the nobles in these fiefs, they're going to start adding to your garrison. So you're going to get +1 added to your garrison every day. That's great, except it's going to drain your food stocks. And so it's literally mandatory that you come back and visit these every now and then. And the further they are from the front line, the longer distance you're going to have to go to drain these garrisons and fix the food problem. If the food problem gets out of control, they're going to start starving, and it's going to lower loyalty, and then they're going to rebel on you. It's actually one of the more annoying aspects of the game, but it's also why you can't keep a lord in your army for too long. If you keep them in your army for too long, two things are going to happen. First off, the food stocks in their fiefs are going to get depleted by the garrison. They have to go back and empty them, just like you do. And then number 2, as their villages are attacked, nobody is going to be there to defend them. So one of the most important things to do, once you become the leader of the kingdom, go in here to diplomacy and change all your war strategies to defensive. If they're not defensive, the AI makes terrible decisions. It is extremely common for the AI to soak up 1,500, 1,600, 1,800 troops into an army and then go lead siege to a fief, only to abandon the siege after like 15 days. So what you need to do is set everybody to defensive so that they'll go back and sort of protect the kingdom, and then you're the spear. You are the offensive thrust. You have to do that. That's really the only way. The AI just isn't smart enough. Particularly when they abandon the sieges. Oh, that's so frustrating. They do that so much. So now let me go in real quick and show you. These are the hotspots on the map. Whatever you do, do not take these fiefs for your own. Up here, Apocritia is really rough because it's the choke point between Britannia Empire and Sturgia, and so a lot of fighting happens here. As well, you're going to find down here Danustica and Onira because it's Empire, Kuzite, and Azurai. A lot of fighting happens here. Over here, this is actually the one that I saw was the worst, probably because I started over here on the east side of the map and then worked my way west. Legata and Ortesia changed hands so many times that the prosperity in both of these fiefs is probably like 1k. Let's go look. Provend is up to 10k, and then down here, these are castles, so those are going to be really low. Let's look at it for a non-castle. Castle. Ortesia, yep. Ortesia 1k. Ortesia changed hands so many times. It's almost insane. As the kingdom ruler, I get the final say in who gets what fief. I try to give it to whoever is of the same culture. So down here, as we were conquering Azurai, I was giving it to the Azurai clan that joined my kingdom. When we were conquering Valandia, I was giving it to the Valandian clans that joined my kingdom. Try to give it to the same because it's going to keep their loyalty higher. So the other thing you need to look at, like every 30 days or so when you're the kingdom lead, you have to come in here, kingdom and then clans, and you have to go through and you have to check your relation with every clan. I try to keep it up around over 70. Because if it gets too low, they will leave your kingdom, and when they leave your kingdom, they take their fiefs with them. It actually happened to me. I gave somebody like 2/3 of Britannia, and then he quit the kingdom and totally wrecked me. So right here, you can see this relation is too low at 48. The way you increase it is by clicking support. And it'll go up. It drains your influence. You lose 50 influence to get like 2 relations, so it's very inefficient, but you have to do it because, you know, this person owns whatever 7 fiefs. If they leave, I have to go back and reconquer those again, so it's really important to keep them happy. Give this guy some as well. So yeah, the next thing. One of the most underrated things that I didn't expect was the importance of governors. Governors are huge. If you put a governor in a city that is not of the same culture, you're going to get a -1 to loyalty. So you absolutely must put a governor that is the same culture, same native culture of that fief. One of the most frustrating things about this game is the fact that you're companion capped. The only way around this is to have a big family. My family was actually bigger than this. Unfortunately, my son died. So one of the most important things in the game that you can line up early on is getting married and having children. There is no cap on your family, so it's really important that you do that. As well, when you're coming in here and picking traits, you have to prioritize traits that give you +1 to companions because they're just so valuable, especially right when you first take a fief. You really need to have a governor in there to help secure the fief. Particularly when it's right on the border, there's going to be a lot of raiding in your villages. Yeah, looted villages is -2 to security, which makes it really hard. It's very important that you stop rebellions. Backtracking to reconquer fiefs is a huge time sink, and it's really not worth it. The other thing I want to mention real quick before I forget, every hideout you see, you must kill. They cause -2 to security, and they cause rebellions. Originally, I only killed hideouts that impacted my fiefs, but now, anytime I pass any hideout anywhere on the map, I'll stop and I'll kill it. When you attack a hideout, you bring 10 Battanian Fion champions with you. When you load in, you hit F4, which lets them fire at will, and then you hit F1, F3. Before I actually load into the hideout, I will change my character's inventory to carry a sword and a shield, and then when I load in, I'll just duel the brigand at the end, and I'll beat him in every duel. The other thing I highly recommend, In your inventory, you must carry sumpter horses, mules, cows, as well as tools and grain. And the reason why you carry all of those in really high numbers is it makes it really easy to solve village issues. They need grain seeds, which costs about 160 grain. Art of the trade, which just costs 3k, 4k dinars. Something about workhorses, which is either going to be cattle, cows, sumpter horses, or mules. And that'll take about 50 or 60 of those. And the last one is the village needs more tools, which again costs like 50 tools, right? So those are the 4 easiest ones to solve. The reason these are greened out is because my relation is too low. So by solving village issues, that's how you increase your relation and you get access to more troops. It's really important to start increasing relations with these guys early on because, you know, when you play for 2,000 days, you're going to be stopping at a lot of villages, and being able to come in here and buy double the number of recruits is going to let you maintain army size for a lot longer. Whatever playthrough you're doing, execute every prisoner you find. They are a scourge. Once their kingdom is dead, they just raid your villages like crazy, trying to force rebellions. And it's really, really rough. I mean, like you can see here, these guys have been dead. This 18k casualties inflicted, all from raiding villages. Their total strength is puny. Total strength, puny, 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 puny. But you can see they have these massive casualty numbers from raiding by villages. Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy. When you come over here, it'll actually show you here in parentheses where the prisoners are being held. And so what I'll actually do is prioritize attacking and taking those fiefs. Once you take those fiefs, your clan members will be released from the prison and it'll reinflate your armies. It's really, really important to do that. Additionally, the other thing I'll do, when I take a fief, I do not let any prisoners stay in the dungeon. When you conquer a fief, every prisoner that is in the dungeon, regardless of where they came from, you're allowed to put them in your army as soldiers, right? So what you're going to end up seeing is when an enemy conquers your fief, they're going to be able to drain the prisoners out of the dungeon and reinflate their armies and continue their war effort. When I take a fief, the first thing I do is I go in, I drain all the prisoners out of the dungeon. I go over to the garrison. I pull out every tier 5 troop and replace it with the low-level troops that I just took from the dungeon. And then I leave for the first time. It's really, really important you do that. All right, let's come in here to the character selection page. I will show you what's important. Medics, 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 medics. I cannot emphasize that enough. The only companion that matters are medics. The reason why medics are so important is when your elite troops fall in battle, they're going to get wounded. If I enter a siege in a city with about 1,200 troops in my army, maybe 50 of them will die and 300 of them will get wounded. That is really sustainable numbers, especially your elite troops will melt lower level troops. When you come into the game, the first thing you do is you get married. And then you come in here. The 4 medics are the scholar, only the Azrai the scholars. The healer, not available. The surgeon, not available. And Willowbark, not available. So those are far and away the most important companions for you to have as well. When you come in here, the leadership ability, talent magnet. So 250 leadership allows you to have +1 party. That is so important. It's unbelievable. That is the only way you can get an additional party once you hit clan tier 6. Without that talent, you can only have 4 parties. And oh my gosh, that would be such a huge pain in the butt. Charm is really important. Every 5 skills after 250 charm gives you +1 influence. Influence is the real currency in this game, not dinars. So this is huge. Leadership. Every skill after 250 gives you +1 party size. And one of the things I also found is that's actually clan-wide. Basically, charm is going to add more influence. Leadership is going to increase party size. Stewardship increases your party size. Medicine keeps them alive. I should probably spend a little bit of time discussing army battle tactics. When you put your mouse cursor over the parties in your army, you can actually see here under information, the party speed. That's where you want to go to see how fast the party is. So when you come in here, click the X to drop the fastest party to run ahead and catch somebody. And then here in this case, I actually wouldn't drop my own clan member from the army to do a rearguard action. The reason for that is whoever you drop for the rearguard, there's a chance they'll die, but most likely they'll become a prisoner, and I don't want somebody in my own clan to be the prisoner. Here I would drop Ifrain because her party is really small and she's not in my clan. And then I also mentioned before, once they are captured, you can come in here to diplomacy, highlight over the prisoners, and then it'll show you where the prisoner is being held. So it should only be a temporary thing. You should go bust them out of prison. That's kind of how you want to manage armies up at the map level. When you actually get into battles, the only thing I would really recommend, battles are just such chaos. The hardest thing about them is the respawn, the way respawns are done in the game. You really can't overextend your army. You have to do everything you can to make the battle happen as close as possible to your spawn point. You kind of have to be constantly pushing forward and pulling back. That's the same reason when you're doing sieges, you really don't want to... I hate to say it, but you really can't take too much control during sieges. If you tell them to charge, your archers will leave their position, even though they won't be doing anything outside. Once they push inside and they get around the keep, where the enemy is just constantly respawning, your archers are just going to get demolished. I really wish there was a way you could tell your archers to advance onto the enemy wall and shoot down into the courtyard where they're spawning. My favorite tactic for sieges really is to just let my sergeants take command, and then I'll try to do archery suppression of siege engines, because that's the only thing I've ever seen that'll make my soldiers break and retreat. As you fight more and more sieges, you're really going to start to become familiar with choke points on each map. My highest battle kill was, I think, 130 on a Vlandian fief that I was attacking in a siege. And to do that, I actually found Archer Port or something on the gatehouse. And by shooting through that tiny little slit, I was just getting headshot after headshot after headshot. And then there was an arrow barrel behind me, and I was just running, grabbing the arrow barrels and pumping arrows. And yeah, I got over 130 kills on that siege. So yeah, guys, these are kind of my initial takeaways after having finally beaten the game. It took me hundreds of hours. Probably going to take a little break from playing. It's been pretty draining, especially at the end. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace. Come on.